Hi, Peter Hayden here. Now I help guide organizations unlocking the potential of data, analytics, and AI within the Microsoft ecosystem. In today's video, I want to take you through a conversation I've had with a number of customers in this sector, in education and the not-for-profit sector, around some of the changes that are affecting their Power BI licensing entitlements and how that might relate to what might be available to you under Microsoft Fabric. So hopefully this might be helpful to dispel what you're seeing or understand what you're seeing, and then what options you might have. And this advice is sort of very general. Certainly recommend talking to your Microsoft partner about your particular situation. But I want to share some of the experiences I've seen, particularly in the last month or so, as we've gone into the new financial year, where Microsoft has removed the Power BI Premium product. So let's just backtrack a bit and think about, well, why is this affecting, in particular, education and the not-for-profit sector? So education customers and not-for-profits generally enjoy really good discounts on their Microsoft licensing. Not commercial organizations, not by nature not-for-profit. And so as a way of adopting Microsoft products, Microsoft provides discounts and those sorts of incentives to use those products. So a number of organizations, especially, and these are not small organizations, that vary in size. We can think about tertiary education or large-scale not-for-profits. They have been using Power BI, not just to create reports, but also to share that across a large user base. And so what organizations would do that have a range of Power BI Pro licensing, they might have the A5 equivalent for that. And they're also using Power BI Premium. Now, if you remember Power BI Premium provides the ability and capacity to let any number of people in your organization access Power BI reports. And so, and both these products had these discounts applied to both the Pro and the Premium. And so, in terms of what customers would spend previously, was quite low. There was I'm not going to give you the exact pricing that I've seen because this will change from customer to customer. But you imagine this is their spend on Power BI Premium Pro, Power BI Premium, and Power BI Pro licensing. But with the shift and the growth of Microsoft Fabric, Microsoft have removed that premium product and now encouraging organizations to go to a Fabric equivalent, which runs an Azure service. Now, at this stage, right as of today in 2024, Azure services don't get the same sorts of discounts that apply for those Pro, which still exist, but the Premium, which doesn't exist, that's gone. It's now an Azure service, and those discounts don't exist. And so all of a sudden, if you want to do the like for like on that, suddenly there's a very different sort of cost model, and that's and it's been grandfathered out, so it hasn't always applied to everyone yet. But as this shift happens, this is what we're looking at, and all of a sudden there's this disparity in costs that organizations, non-commercial organizations, are going, well, how can I afford that gap in change and difference? But there is some good news. Around approaches you can take. But before I go to that, let's just look at, well, why is it so big? And what does that cost actually look like? So the advice is, the equivalent is, if you look at the documentation, that a premium, and they used to have this term called P-SKUs. So Power BI, should be very careful. Power BI Premium P1 is equal to a Fabric F64. So if I just slide over the current pricing, just remind, this is all in Australian dollars, and it may fluctuate based on currency changes and changes in time. So if you look at the F64, which is the pricing right here, we look at the reserved instance pricing, which is this one on the right here, where if you commit to spend, you do get a discount. That's $8,700 a month. And before, I know it was a little bit less than that for the retail pricing for Power BI Premium, but you get a discount on that if you're in the education NFP sector. And so now you don't get a discount, all of a sudden you're paying the same retail cost, or generally the retail cost, paying an agreement, as everyone else. And so that's why it's getting a bit of a shock to a lot of the people in these sectors around what they do, especially when they've already invested in that. But unlike a P1 where that was a small student you could go which was, as we see, is in this row here, you actually have a number of graduations lower that you can use, but only at this level onwards. So in these ones down here, do you get that organizational Power BI ability to consume. So you need to license everyone. Whereas you go under this way, you need a Power BI Pro license for everyone. For all. But the news isn't so bad if you're in an FP in education. And so the general advice we seem to be working at the moment in terms of how we help provide direction is that, well, if you decide you are happy with just the Power BI components, you would look at just using licensing everyone into Power BI Pro. Now, you also have the option of then using a smaller, if you want some of the data warehouse and data ETL processes and data lake capabilities that comes with Fabric, and like goodness, you don't have to start at the F64. You can start really low and spend a smaller amount, something in this range, typically, depending on your workloads, something in a F2 to even F32, which would be a smaller range, would be the way to go. And that, so far in the analysis we've done, has been stacked up really well for these types of organizations. Another way to think about it, if we consider the general tipping, I call it a tipping point when we think at premium. So question I get asked all the time as well, if I go, do I go pro for everyone or do I go premium? And what's the tipping point? When do I cross over to investing in premium? Now, on the retail, so this is for most commercial organizations, if you had greater than 500 users, absolutely go to premium. And you had a small number of content producers, because you still need pro licensed content producers. But in that case, we got over 500 consumers, premium is the way to go. With the education and not-for-profit pricing, that tipping point is 2,500 so that was for the premium P1, and now we're talking about the Fabric F64 equivalent. If you've got more than 2,500 users who are consuming content, then going to the F64 is probably going to work out good value for you. If you've got less than that, and a lot of the people, many NFPs and education customers are less than that, then individually licensing Power BI Pro is going to give you, and then maybe a small Fabric capacity, is going to probably work out really well in your favour. But there are you need to understand all the circumstances. So the last thing I'll sort of say on this is, well, what do I do? How do I know if I'm in this category of I'm a not-for-profit provider, I'm an education sector, what is it I should do? So ultimately the best is, it's like any sort of advice, legal or accounting, it depends on your circumstances. Now, partners, like the one I work for, Microsoft Partners, have access to a Fabric capacity tool. And what that does, it allows us to work with you to then estimate the F size, that F sizing. And so we can determine based on your workload, do you need an F2, an F4, F8, and so forth to get that right. And the good thing is you can reserve at a lower level and always scale up as you grow, as your needs grow. And that's a really good way to do it. So when we couple that plus the number of users who need to use and consume, produce and consume, then we can really help you understand what your requirements are. And we factor in things like the storage, and the OneLake storage is also part of it. It's a much more negligible cost. That's in sort of calculations done to date. But we do as part of the Fabric capacity tool make sure there's enough storage there as well. But reach out to your partner. If you're in Australia and you'd like any assistance, certainly my organisation I work for can certainly help with that, and would love to discuss how your workloads and what sizing would be appropriate. And knowing that, we can work out what your pro usage is, as well as the Fabric sizing, and help you understand what that change will be now that Microsoft is making that change with Power BI Premium. And that's it for today's video. So if you would like to know more in Australia, I can certainly help you with that. And if you found this useful, let me know, please. That helps me understand the topics I'm covering, if that's of relevance to you. And I'll share that Fabric pricing information, Fabric pricing page in the notes, and you can look at that. Remember, look at the reserve pricing, because if you commit to that, it is much cheaper. For actual pricing, if you're an NFP or an education provider, contact your Microsoft partner who provides your licensing, and they'll be able to help you also understand what you're paying today, and then how we need to think about as you go forward, think about Fabric is right for you. So certainly be sure to check that out, and if you'd like to know more, head over to my website and find other information that I'm sharing also that might be of use. And that's it for today's video, and I'll see you next time.